Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to a new YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, here we are for another AFL 2022 season review. And in today's video, of course, we're going to be doing runners up, or the team that lost in the grand final, the Sydney Swans, after having another brilliant year as well. So of course we're going to be reviewing their season, and they are second based on the order of elimination because they made it through the grand final but just couldn't go ahead and win it, which means Geelong will be next because they won the grand final. So let's go ahead and see what's in today's episode. So as per usual, the ladder position, which is going to be at the end of round 23, and then also based on the order of elimination, recapping the season, highlights, best win, good players, lowlights, worst loss, what's next, trade period and coach, recap, and final words. Now, the Swans don't have a lot going on in the trade period, but they have re-signed some big players. So Sydney finished third at the ladder by the end of round 23 with a record of 16 wins, 6 losses, 64 points, and a percentage of 127.9. But based on the order of elimination, second, because of course they just couldn't go all the way in the 2022 AFL Grand Final. Now, this Sydney side is a very quality side, and that's why they contended with the best of the best and made the grand final in 2022. Comfortable 20-point win over the Giants in round 1 at Accor Stadium. And then round 2, the moment that nobody will ever forget, nobody that watched this game, nobody that's into football, no matter what team you support, you cannot forget this moment. Buddy Franklin, 1,000th goal in this game versus Geelong. The Swans won by 30 points. This is potentially the last player to ever get 1,000 goals. Massive. And we didn't know it round 2, but this was going to eventually end up being the grand final between the Cats and the Swans. The Swans got the chocolates in that one at the SCG. Disappointing loss in round 3, the Dogs at Marvel, though, by 11 points. And then the scare of the season almost happened. They beat the Roos by 11 at the SCG, but man, they looked a bit shaky in that game. And then they comfortably smashed the Eagles by 63 in Perth. And then down to UTAS they went, where they overcame the Hawks by 41. Disappointing loss to the Lions at the SCG, lost by 24. And then the week later, the other Queensland team, the Gold Coast Suns, came in to beat them by 14 in the shock of the season. That was a big shock at the time. Nobody expected the Suns to beat the Swans, especially at the SCG. Swans are so hard to beat there. But yeah, they just couldn't get the job done. And actually, three SCG games in a row. Wow, that's unbelievable. I've never seen a team that's had 3 home games in a row. Wow, when would have been the last time that's happened? I haven't seen that in a long time. I'm going to have to go through, check the fixture and see what happened. 58-point win against the Bombers, and then they lost to the Blues by 15 points Friday night. Then they beat Richmond. It was controversial in the end, but they beat Richmond by 6 at the SCG. Thriller Friday night contest there as well. And then on Saturday night, they got over the Demons. They played really well. Did the Swans in that game. And that's when, again, the Demons, they just had a bit of a reality check. Lost to the Dockers and the Swans, and then they lost to the Power. Then the Swans had their own reality check, losing to a very rocky Power. I can't get the word that I'm looking for. But yeah, very disappointing loss there for the Swans to a very inconsistent Power side throughout the year. Then they just smashed the Saints at home on a Saturday night. Lost to the Bombers. Had a couple of disappointing losses throughout the year, did Sydney, e.g. Power, Bombers. This was a disappointing loss as well. Then they smashed the Dogs on Friday night footy at the SCG. And then one of their best wins of the year went over to Perth, beat the Dockers by 17 points. And then this is where their top 4 hopes really came in, because they just had a brilliant streak in their last games. Got over the Crows pretty comfortably. They smashed the Giants, and then they got over North Melbourne. They got over Collingwood, which at the time was a very solid win, because Collingwood were in some red-hot form. And, well, so were the Swans, though. Both sides went into this game in red-hot form. It was a game that you could not miss. And then in round 23, they got over the Saints by 14 points. And then through their grand final, they won the qualifying final, which means they went straight through to a home prelim. They beat the Demons by 22 points. The Swans, they always find a way to beat the Demons, and the Demons just absolutely lost it this September. Couldn't make it through any further than semi. Clutch win against the Pies in the preliminary final to win by a point. But then in the grand final, they got thumped by 81 points and scored 52. The Cats scored 133. Grand finals nowadays just seem to be smashing, and that's exactly what this one was. And they won the Cats by 81 points. So, best win of the season, well, I'm going to go back. The win against the Cats was extraordinary. And again, just the whole feel of that game was absolutely extraordinary. Another really strong win against the Demons, though, as well. Strong win against the D's. I'm going to say, and the Dockers. Those are some really, really, really good wins, and definitely the Pies when they were in some red-hot form. Now, they did have some very poor losses, obviously the grand final being one very good example. But there was also, against Essendon, was a disappointing loss, and against the Power as well. But then there's also a couple of others against the Suns as well. And can you believe the Swans had 3 home games in a row against the Lions, the Suns, and the Bombers? So, yeah, crazy stuff there. But let's go ahead and talk about their trade period. Quiet one, but they did have some big re-signings. But before I touch on the trade period, they've got a very strong list of Sydney. They're not going to be very active in the trade period because they've got a very strong list, a very good young list. And based on belief, I feel like the Swans will still be around for a long time. With this same list, they'll be able to contend for a long time now. Key forward stocks are a bit of a concern. Reid, McDonald, Franklin. It's not the most dangerous forward line, and Franklin's almost at the end of his career. One more year and he'll be done. So they do need to find a replacement, whether that be this year or potentially next year's trade period, where they're going to need to find somebody as a bit of a key forward. They can be hard to come across, but need to find somebody that's, because Reid and Franklin are almost at the end of their time. You cannot have McDonald needing to do all the work like a Sol Taylor Walker. You need to have more people there. You need to have some more threats down there. So that's one issue that the Swans will need. So yeah, that is a bit of an issue that the Swans will need to address. But again, though, that doesn't necessarily have to be done this year. But they do have a very exciting list, which will definitely be around finals for at least the next few years. Now, trade-wise, they are linked to Aaron Francis from Essendon. Nobody else really linked or heading out of the Swans at the moment. But again, though, yes, they are linked to Aaron Francis. And look, not a lot will have to get that deal done either. I don't think a lot will need to be offered to get that deal done. Now, also, I did say there was a few big re-signings. Jake Lloyd was one of them. He's been re-signed. But the big one that Swans fans would be loving, your exciting small forward, Tom Papley is re-signed on a mega extension, taking him through to the end of 2028. He's not going anywhere after in the 2020 trade period. 2019. He tried to move to Carlton. That deal was denied. And he is in some career best form. Tom Papley, he is an amazing player for Sydney, and they'll be very happy that they can keep him because he is absolutely massive for them. And he's an exciting small forward as well. So, of course, one more to go. One more season review, and then the series will be ending. Of course, is Geelong. The Premiers coming up next. Sydney, so close, but yet still so far. Made a grand final, couldn't get the job done, but they have a very good, healthy list. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you guys next time video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Bye everyone. Flaming Footy out.